Welcome to presentation number 5 in our series for Triathlon 101. Today we're going to talk about health, fitness, and performance. Can you have it all? I'm Patrick Ash, so happy that you could be with me tonight, and thank you for spending your time. I'll do my best to make this a rewarding and helpful presentation for you. What we're going to focus on today is the idea that in order to set yourself up to have a great performance in your next event, you have to ensure that you have good, robust health, which helps you develop fitness, and what are the things you need to focus on to develop good fitness, which ultimately will lead to a great performance. Where we are in the series, this is number 5, as I said. November, we talked about what it takes. December, goal setting. January, how to train. So we looked at how to make sure that you're setting up your training program with your goals, what to expect, and also setting up a training plan to help you fit it into your life. And then February, we talked about some of the specifics of swim, bike, and run. What are some of the technique focuses and structures and gear that you need in order to help you perform your best? And today, all about health, fitness, and performance, which will be a great lead into our presentation coming up in April about nutrition and training for racing and event day preparation. If you ever want to go back and revisit some of these presentations, I'll be posting them on my YouTube page at Endurance Journey Coaching, so you can check that out. They'll all be there. So let's get rolling. So today, health, fitness, and performance. Can you have it all? There's 3 areas that we'll cover today. One is health is the foundation of your fitness and performance. We're going to talk about why it's important to make sure that you're in a good place from a health perspective, defining what health is and how that sets up your fitness and performance. We're talking about measurement. How do you actually measure if you have good health, fitness, and performance? What are some of the things you can look at in your own training, and what actions can you take to help to measure those factors? And then 3, we're going to talk about adjustment, because as I've said in previous presentations, your journey from your start of your training, when you register, click that registration button, all the way up to you cross that finish line, it's never a straight linear line up. There's going to be ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys, and your ability to adjust to those peaks and valleys and make quick micro adjustments will allow you to stay as consistent as possible. As I've mentioned before many times, consistency is king. The more consistency you have in your training, the better you're going to develop your fitness and ultimately your performance. First, I'd like to say that you are a one of one. So everything that I say today and that I've said in the past needs to apply to your specific situation, your life circumstances, your stresses, your skills, your sleep patterns, your hydration patterns, your nutrition patterns, your hormones, your physiology. They're all unique to you. What one person does will not 100% apply to you. So it's important to consider the specific environments, the qualities, the characteristics that make up your health, fitness, and performance, and understand that those are unique to you. And that's one of the things we do in our coaching business and endurance journey, is we help to take your specific characteristics and apply these principles of training and physiology and recovery and performance to your unique situation. So the 3 components that are super important that we're going to talk about today, and one builds on the other. So the first one, and the most important, if we think of a foundation of a house, so the foundation of the house is very important, obviously. It provides the base structure that supports the rest of the house. So if you think of that foundation, health is the foundation for your fitness and performance. So you need to ensure that you have good health in order to develop the fitness and performance that you want. Health contains 4 components: physical, mental, social, and emotional, and we'll touch on those in a second. Fitness, as I define it, is the ability to move your body with confidence and competence when you want, how you want, for as long as you want, in any area of life. Then performance is your ability to move from point A to point B faster and more efficient than in previous attempts. Ultimately, the best way to evaluate performance is you versus you. Were you a little bit better than you were yesterday or your last event? That's how we adjust and adapt and evaluate performance. Without good health, peak fitness and performance will not happen. So just keep that in mind as we move forward here. Measuring your health. We want to make sure that when we're looking at your health, the first component that we want to look at is physical. So the question I'd like you to pose to yourself when you're thinking about evaluating your physical health is my body ready for the stress of training? And again, I talked about in previous presentations about what to expect from a training perspective, what the commitment is, what you're looking at as far as some of the training stresses that you'll put your body under. So you have to ask yourself honestly, is my body ready for this stress? So one of the things that you can do to make sure that you have good quality of your body systems and you're free from disease or injury is to get your annual physical from your physician. This will ensure that your body systems are ready for the stress of training and there's not any underlying concerns there that maybe you're not even aware of. Getting a physical early in the season, now is a great time if you haven't done so yet to get one done. And then maybe 4 to 6 weeks out from your key race, when you're in like a heavier building phase, it might be good to get some follow-up blood work done just to make sure that everything's working well and everything's where it should be. Now, what are some of the things that you can expect in your physical? What I've done is, for this presentation, I've created some note pages that you can upload, and there's access that we'll have in the links. So if you want to get those notes, those are great to have as a complement to the presentation. It'll outline a lot of the details that I go into in the presentation, as well as a PDF of the actual slides as well. You can access there. Okay, so personal and family history. Usually your physician should, on that medical exam, you can expect that they're going to go through your personal medical history if anything's changed since your last physical from your own health perspective. Anything changed in your family history, go through that in detail. Blood work, like I said, in those note pages, there'll be a list of tests that are pretty common that you'll get done, just to get an overall look under the hood, so to speak, to see how things are working from a systems perspective. There'll be a visual exam, so check your eyes, ears, just from a surface perspective, looking at the outside of your body, seeing if there's any, abnormal bumps, growths, different things. And then a physical examination where typically get out the stethoscope, tongue depressor, look inside your mouth, listen to the heart, see if they hear any abnormalities. They may do a resting ECG, a lung test as well. So these are all pretty common things to look at. And it just, again, it's to highlight if there's anything going on from a physical perspective that may impact your ability to train and your body's ability to adapt to stress. Other health influencers they may want to discuss with your physician is sleep quality, because that plays a huge role in your health, stress management, nutrition, body composition, look at as well. So what's the distribution of body fat on your body, which can impact your health depending on where that body fat is situated. Number 2 in our components of health is social. So this is essentially your quality of connections with others. And the question you can ask yourself to evaluate is, do I have social support from others for my commitment to fitness and performance? So do I have a good group of family, friends, training partners, training groups that I'm a part of? Do I have a coach that I'm working with that helps me build, allows me to have healthy relationships that are positive and supportive? Are they good quality, meaning I can share things? They help me when, I have someone there when I'm struggling or if I'm finding things challenging, or can be honest with me about what I'm doing and be able to be a kind of mirror to help me reflect. Other places you can help get involved and develop your social circle. Event organizing or volunteering is a great way to get involved in the sport and understand it better. When you organize and volunteer, you'll understand how races work, and that can actually help you as an athlete with your preparation. And then clubs, your local clubs, multi-sport clubs, or provincial sport governing bodies, those are great ways to also get involved and help build that community. The third one is an emotional component. So the question you can ask is, do I have a fixed or growth mindset? So this is how you feel about your ability, your self-confidence. So oftentimes with athletes, I see they typically have two types of mindsets. And this comes from Dr. Carol Dweck out of Stanford University. She pinned this idea or concept about a fixed versus growth mindset. So a fixed mindset is everything is about the outcome. It's a pass or fail kind of test. If you're not at your best, it's all been wasted. So this kind of perfectionist idea that unless everything goes perfect and right to your expectation, all is lost. And that makes the whole training process pretty hard because guess what? It's not going to go perfectly. Like I've said before, you're going to have peaks and valleys. You're going to have challenging times. So your ability to reshape or rethink how you approach those challenging times and look at them as opportunities will lead you into having a growth mindset, which is the ability to value what you're doing regardless of the outcome. So looking at the process of the journey is what it's really all about. It's developing those skills, developing the confidence, developing your ability to do things. That becomes a really important mindset to have. And it can be simple to develop that growth mindset just by looking at how you say things. So a common thing I'll ask at the beginning of a swim session is I'll say, what are your goals for the swim session? And somebody will say, well, I suck at swimming, so I want to get better. Instead, they could say, I'm an improving swimmer. And you think about that, that's a nice little shift in mindset that instead of looking at, I can't do something, I'm really bad at something, look at, no, I'm in the process of getting better. And I'm here to practice and get better, work on my skills. Same thing as I can't do something, I can't run those paces, or I can't climb that hill, or whatever the case may be, or I can't do that course, it's too difficult. How about say, maybe I can't do it yet. So again, thinking about it in terms of there's always an opportunity, a possibility to develop and get better. That's what the growth mindset is about, and developing your emotional health. And lastly, mental health. The question you can ask yourself to evaluate this is, how do you feel about the commitment, and do you have the resources in place to help you? So how do you feel about your commitment to the race? Is it something that you feel is going to be a positive attribute to your life? Oftentimes we use endurance training as a vehicle to better health in some component of our process. So when we think about mental health, I would phrase it and define it as, it's like looking at your history of how you approach things mentally and your quality and clarity of thoughts, your productivity of decisions, and your ability to manage stress. Those would be the components that make up that mental health circle. So to get into it in a little more specific detail, some of the things to consider when you're thinking about your mental health, how it may affect your ability to commit and be consistent, is your current mental health status. So do you have challenges with certain mental health conditions? For example, like anxiety or depression or post-traumatic stress syndrome that may impact your ability to handle the stress of training, because training is a stress. Secondly, managing your expectations. So I often say that people come into endurance sport for three reasons. Typically, they're wanting to prove something to someone, or they want to prove something to themselves, or they're trying to escape from something. So those are usually the three reasons that people come in. And it's just important to acknowledge that and think about what your deeper reasoning is and why you're involved in the sport in the first place. Then Thirdly, you want to consider the impact of this commitment on your social life. We talked about in previous presentations on the how to train of thinking about considering the time commitment you're going to make based on the event that you're registered in. So I encourage you to go look back at that just for more clarity. But again, this is going to impact because you're taking time that you're currently using for social life, and you may transfer that over to or away from social engagements. So you have to consider, can you still fit those things in? Can you still make those things an important part of your life? And then fourthly, developing a social support system. So having a good group of people around you, whether it's family, friends, training partners. I talked about those in a previous slide, but people that you can lean on when things get challenging, when you go through those ebbs and flows of life and through your training journey. And then also too, evaluating, do I have any energy vampires in my life? People who are taking energy away from me or not contributing positively to my journey. Maybe it's time to distance myself a little bit. So I'm surrounding myself with people that will allow me to develop the skills and abilities and get to the place of health that I want to get to, which will ultimately lead to your fitness and performance. And just being mindful of your mental health during training. It's okay to ask for help. Lean on your support system. You're going to have times where things are challenging and you're going to go through ebbs and flows, but having those people around you and being willing to ask for help, whether it's therapists or it's friends, families, training partners, just having a good support system will really help you have a more enjoyable journey to your finish line. All right, let's talk about some of the measurement components. So measuring fitness, again, defining fitness as the ability to move your body with confidence and competence when you want, how you want, for as long as you want. So in any area of life. So it's building robustness in all your different systems. So what are these systems of fitness? Well, there's 5 of them that I'll define here. Endurance, as far as that's concerned, and we're talking about cardio endurance, so heart and lung systems, and then muscular endurance, strength and power, flexibility, range of motion, mobility, body composition 4th, and then balance and stability 5th. So measuring fitness, again, the first component we're talking about here is cardiovascular endurance. So this is the ability to perform repeated movement without getting fatigued. So when we're talking about endurance sport, we're talking about like swimming, biking, running as examples we're using here. So a great way to evaluate and measure your fitness development is look at what's your ability to sustain easy to moderate efforts in similar conditions. So same weather, same time of day, etc. And again, we're talking about, as we remember from our last few presentations, talking about the zone 5 model. So this would be of effort, zones 1 and 2. So that easy to moderate effort where it's very comfortable. And an easy way to assess is look at your easy sessions over time. If they're done on the same course, same distance, you can look at, can I travel that same distance faster at that same effort? That means your fitness is developing. Or maybe you're able to keep that same effort, pace, power for longer. And that's an example of your fitness improving as well. So instead of thinking it's got to be a race or a super hard effort to develop your fitness, look at these easy to moderate sessions and just see, how is your body responding to those? Is it getting easier to sustain the same effort or pace, or can you sustain that same effort or pace for longer? Or are you traveling faster at that same effort or pace? That's a great way at that easy, moderate effort to evaluate whether your cardio fitness is developing. One of the other ways to measure muscular endurance is looking at different strength exercises where you would be holding your body against resistance. So for example, like a plank exercise that we have at the bottom here of this slide, just a dead hang where you're hanging in position, or a squat hold. These are all measures of fitness, your ability to hold position stability against gravity. So those are different ways. So the longer you can hold that position, obviously the more your muscular endurance is developing. So if you think about swimming, biking, and running, we're often holding a certain posture position for an extended length of time. So that's a component of muscular endurance as well. Developing fitness, number 2, we're talking about strength. So strength is the ability to generate force. So when we think in terms of swim, bike, run, we're thinking power of the swim stroke, so the ability to use your arm and your upper body to push water behind you, the pressure that you put in each pedal stroke, so the pressure that you're putting on the pedals to create torque and power. And then you think about the force you're putting against the ground in order to generate force to move you forward in a run stride. So different assessments you could do from a strength perspective, lifting heavier for the same reps over time. For example, if you're doing like a squat, you might do sets of 5 with 25 pounds and then eventually get to 30, 35 pounds, 40. That means your strength development is increasing. You might do more reps with the same weight. Again, another example of your strength increasing. What we're doing here is we're using a bunch of different exercises. For example, lifting, pushing, pulling, squatting, stepping, lunging, carrying, all these different modes of training to allow us to develop these different strength components in our body through different ranges of motion. And what this allows us to do is develop the durability and resilience for our body to absorb the stress of training, which becomes super important. Now we talk about the other component is power. So power movements really are our ability to make quick starts, if we need to pass someone quickly, or we need a fast acceleration. This is our ability to accelerate or generate explosive power in short bursts, so 20 seconds or less. So activities that we do to develop this in our training, we do hopping, jumping, bounding, so things you might do in a run warm-up, for example. Anything that we do to generate force explosively and be able to do it over a really short period of time. Number 3, flexibility. So these are movements that increase your range of motion around a joint. So when we think about this, we might use the terms mobility as another term that you hear, but really it's the tissue's ability to stretch and then retract back to its normal shape, which increases our range of motion. So for example, in swimming, that might be our shoulder range of motion, so our ability to put our arms over our head and stretch forward. Bike aero position, so our ability to lengthen out in the bike and create less frontal resistance. And also to run stride length, so our ability to have movement around our hips to increase our stride length. So assessments you can do for this: can you perform a movement more efficiently and smoothly with less resistance from your tissues? So that's a good indication that you're increasing your flexibility, that when you move through a range of motion, you're able to do it without feeling like you have any resistance from your tissues. You don't have any pain or stiffness afterwards, and it feels more efficient and smooth. So you increase that run stride length. You're able to be in a more aerodynamic or lower position on the bike. You're able to have greater range of motion in your shoulders. So again, this helps build your durability and resilience as an athlete. And then if you want to get more specific into your movement, you can get a movement assessment done by a physio or coach if you feel like you have specific limitations that you feel are limiting your ability to move well. And the number 4 is balance and stability. This is an often neglected piece of any endurance athlete's training component, but one that I feel is super important. So you think of balance as your body's ability to control movements and maintain positions. So multiple systems in your body, including your eyes, your ears, your sensory systems to figure out where your body is in space. These all integrate together to help maintain your position and control movements. So stability, on the other hand, refers to your body's ability to resist external forces or disturbances to maintain a stable position. So for example, if you're running up a hill or down a hill, your ability to maintain a good run posture on that different terrain is a function of stability. How would we assess this? We could do single leg work, stepping up, stepping down, for example. This could be done with weighted or unweighted. So for example, single leg, just brushing your teeth. That's a simple one, or standing and balancing, holding a weight. We can walk on a narrow surface. So one of the things I get my athletes to do, you see in that top picture, is walking on boards with weights in different directions. You can add to that by turning your head in different directions as you're walking. That's going to challenge your balance in different ways. It's a great core stability exercise as well. And then also to turning your head, throwing and catching an object as you're balancing on one foot. So you see that picture in the bottom. That's an excellent option there as well to help challenge your balance and proprioception and stability in different ways. Lastly, body composition. There's different ways to look at, how your body is composed and how that might affect your ability to develop fitness, your health, how it impacts your health. So where your body fat, muscle is distributed on your body, your bone density, water composition. These are all things that can be measured in body composition. They can affect your buoyancy in swimming, your power to weight ratio in cycling and running, your frontal resistance. So in endurance sport, awfully, we're traveling from point A to point B in a forward motion. So the more resistance we have up front, the more challenges we can run up against. Assessments that we can use here, measuring tape. So that's the simplest and cheapest. So just looking at waist, hip, thighs, chest, arms, and calves, measuring at the same place each time. That can help you look at, especially if you're measuring limbs, if there's differences in sizes and different limbs, can help you make assessments that way, or where you may have more fat or muscle distributed in different parts of your body. Skin fold measurements, bioelectrical or electrical impedance analysis, dual X-ray absorptiometry. Now the DEXA and MRI, obviously, even BIA can be more expensive. So again, if it's something that you feel you really want to get into, there's definitely options there. But the cheapest way is just to look at just good old measurements is a simple way to look at it. If you're concerned or thinking that you may need to look at this more closely, there's different professionals that you can go to that help that measure these things. So again, if you're looking at an overall picture of health, those 5 components are great ways to make sure that you're addressing your fitness needs and measuring all the components of fitness which are related to health as well. All right, let's talk about measuring performance. Measuring performance, the thing I want to make the point of, and why I put this picture this way, it's same picture, just flipped in reverse so they're facing each other, is the best way to evaluate performance is look at it as you versus you. That compare yourself to yourself, and the best way to do that and the most accurate way to do that is look at it under similar conditions. So what does that mean? Well, if you're evaluating performance, whether it's during training or actually in racing, it's important that you consider these different components. Is it the same course? So are you measuring it on exactly the same course? That's the same distance. Under the same conditions. So is the temperature similar? The wind similar? Humidity, road surface conditions, are all those similar? Because if they're not, now you're comparing different variables. Also, too, what was your stress, sleep, and nutrition like prior to that recovery status? We're going to talk a little bit about measuring recovery in a bit. All those things will play a factor into evaluating that particular performance. And then did you have the same preparation lead up? So Was your training build up the same, or did you have to take more time off for injury? Those are all things that you need to consider, or time off for illness, or were you able to maybe train more in this build up versus your last one? These are all things to consider when you're evaluating performance. But the most important thing is compare you versus you under those similar conditions. All right, so adjusting. This becomes really important when we're talking about identifying feedback that indicates it's time to adjust. So what do we mean by that? Well, primarily we're talking about some of those micro adjustments you need to make, some of the signals that your body will give you during training where maybe you're not responding as well as you should be, or that you need to take a little bit more recovery time, increase intensity over time so that you are recovering properly. So we're going to talk about some of those things that you can do to make those little micro adjustments. And these are things that maybe only take a day or two of adjusting, and then you're back into your regular routine. But what I often see is when people ignore these signs and signals that their bodies are giving them, this will often lead to the situation where they have to take excess time off. So maybe, 4 or 5 days or a week or 2 weeks because of illness, injury, burnout, and that impacts consistency. And as I've said many, many times before, the more consistent you are over time, the greater your fitness will develop and the better your results will be. So let's talk about some of those things. So what are some red flags that your body gives you that you want to pay attention to? Well, poor sleep is a big one. So the quality of your sleep, so was it disrupted, or were you able to sleep straight through, or the length of your sleep? Did you have a really short sleep for whatever reason? Your motivation to train. So if you have a really low motivation to train, that can be a red flag as well. Poor mood. So you wake up and you're grumpy. That can be something that you need to pay attention to. Unusual, or persistent soreness. So if you have like a soreness, you wake up and it's not something that you felt before, or very unusual, or it's a persistent soreness that's lasted over days, that's a red flag. Higher than usual stress. So you have something going on in your life outside of training that's compounding your stress. That's something to consider. Above or below normal range of resting heart rate. So one of the things I always encourage people to do is track the resting heart rate under similar conditions. So you wake up, go to the bathroom, you sit, you chill out, take your resting heart rate. And you do that on a daily basis and you'll get a trend. And typically there's no like one number for resting heart rate. Like people say, oh, my resting heart rate's 45. Well, it's probably 45 on that day, but on some days it might be 43, some days it might be 48. But what you want to do is just track it over a period of time, say, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and then you'll get a trend, a range that your heart rate falls within. And then what that will do will give you some good numbers to figure out when it goes outside of that range. And that can be a red flag to tell you to adjust. Within training, you'll often see that you'll have slower recovery between training sessions. So sessions that you normally recover quickly from, it feels like it takes longer to recover from those. Or within sessions, you might feel like specific intervals that you normally do and recover a certain way within a certain time, that starts to lengthen out. It takes you longer to recover from those sessions. That's a red flag as well, that you're not adapting well and you may need to adjust your training. Any signs of illness, so upset stomach, sore throat, cough, congestion, fever, achiness, those typical signs, those are things to definitely pay attention to and adjust course as needed. So let's talk about ways that you can track. So you want to track what's normal with sleep, stress, mood, motivation to train, like I said, resting heart rate, and recovery from sessions. So for example, this is a little on the right-hand side here. You have your normal, this is a note in my Training Peaks log. So I just put in resting heart rate on a particular day, asleep, woke up once, body feels good, no pain, ready to train tomorrow. So just giving myself that little feedback, and then I track that over time. and I can see, are there certain circumstances or training loads or something going on where I don't respond well, and maybe I need to take extra recovery. So the more you just give that basic regular feedback and you track it, it'll allow you to adjust course much better and make the appropriate adjustments versus just doing it or ignoring those signs and symptoms. So key data to track, something that you can do to look at recovery. And this is from Training for the Uphill Athlete by House, Johnston, and Jornet. So this is interesting. It's a step test that you can do right at home. So walk up a flight of stairs, so let's say 10 stairs or so, and you do 2 stairs at a time, okay? Pause at the top, notice how you feel, okay? Won't take long to assess your readiness. Usually I'll do it at a good pace going up those stairs. It won't take long because you'll notice, like, oof, if you're breathless, you're winded, your legs are really sore, that may mean it's time to take a recovery day. And you can combine this with your other metrics like resting heart rate, sleep quality, stress, mood, some of those things we just talked about. But a simple test. So there might be 3 states. So you get up those stairs, yeah, you feel fresh. Okay, I'm ready for a key day, key training session. If it's normal, I might, feel a little winded, but I'm okay. It's my normal response to that movement. Okay, it's okay to load. If I'm feeling extra fatigued, like I'm breathless, just feel extra tired doing that, extra sore, it might be a good idea for an easy day or 2. Again, easy way to look at your recovery. Now, for the women in the audience, you are not small men. And this is from DrStacySims. I love that. And she is a great resource for you to look at impacts of menstruation and menopause on your training cycle and how to make sure that you're adjusting training based on how you're feeling, whether it's in different parts of your cycle or just generally as you're going through menopause. So she has some great resources. The links are embedded in this presentation here. So you can just click on the links on the PDF and they're there. But tracking menstrual cycles to help you adjust training load appropriately through different phases of the month. This can be really helpful in adjusting and making sure that you're adjusting that training load so that your body's still able to adapt during those different phases. And then women in menopause, how to may adapt better to what's called a polarized training model. And I talked about that in the how to train module. But the whole idea of having, the bulk of your work done at a lower intensity, so zones 1 and 2, and then sprinkling in some higher intensity work within your program, kind of zone 4, zone 5, and kind of staying away mostly from those gray zones, kind of that zone 3 moderate hard effort, those longer intervals at that effort, to stay away from those may be a good way to manage load during menopause. So again, DrStacySims is a great resource. Click those links and there's some great information there. So adjusting when you get red flags. So we talked about all those different red flags that you can run up against. It's important to think about what you need to do. So again, I talked about the times when maybe you need to take a day off. So we talked about the step test, for example. One of the things you can do is this test drive on the far right here. We talked about that in previous sessions, but again, if you're feeling off or you feel any of those red flags coming on, but you still feel like training, you can do this test drive, and it's a quick way to assess whether or not your body's ready to train. So you do the warm-up in the first 5 minutes of the main set. So if everything being the same, like you're not noticing a really elevated heart rate or breathing pattern, but everything seems to be normal, but you're still feeling a little bit off, then you can just complete what I call an easy active recovery session, or even just a mobility or stretching session. So ideally, it's very, very easy. You'd be able to converse with someone, talk to them easy. You'd probably barely be sweating or not even sweating. You're just moving your body, okay? One of the metrics you can use is heart rate. So you take your resting heart rate plus 50 beats. So for example, my resting heart rate's 50-ish. So I would go up to the maximum I go is 100 beats per minute in this recovery day. So you're just keeping it really easy. But ideally, you just use that talk test. You should be able to talk very comfortably without disruption in full sentences. Then you know you're taking it really, really easy. Breathing really comfortably through your nose is another metric you can use to make sure that it's a really easy day. Now, the second scenario is if you feel better after that. So you woke up feeling off, or you go into your session feeling a bit off, you do the warm-up, first 5 minutes of the same main set, you feel better. It's like, okay, that's a good sign that you can go on with the session as planned. The third scenario is if you start to feel worse than when you started after beginning that first part of the main set, that is a great sign to say, no bueno, okay? No more, no más, okay? You need to step back, take a recovery day, let your body recover, okay? Take one day now, or if you keep trying to push through it, what will end up happening, I've seen this over and over again, is you'll end up having to take 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, a week, 2 weeks, or more later, because you're either burning yourself out, you're either on the verge of getting sick, or you'll get injured. So those are all things that you need to consider. So taking a day off now will allow you to reset. And I've seen it happen over and over again. People take that day off, they recover, they wake up the next day, they're ready to roll. So, and then as you're recovering, always pay attention to water and nutrition habits. We're going to talk a bit more about that, obviously, in the next presentation in April. But paying attention to good quality nutrition sources, getting away from the processed, fried foods, those type of things. Focus on good nutrition, good quality water intake. That will be really important. All right, so in summary, we talked about these 3 components: health, fitness, and performance. Can you have it all? Foundation was the first thing. We talked about health and why that's the foundation for your fitness and performance. 2, we talked about measurement, so how to measure your health, fitness, and performance. And then 3, we talked about adjusting, so how to use some of those signs, those signals, those red flags, and make adjustments based on your particular situation and how you're feeling. So thank you very much. Let me know if you have any questions or clarifications. You can email me at patrick@endurancejourney.com. Also can be reached via Facebook or Instagram, or also at endurancejourney.com. Just to let you know, we have our spring sessions coming out, and we take group training opportunities for you there. And then also we have a few spots left in our signature coaching program, as well as through our training plans, there's opportunities. So if you're looking for some structure, support, some guidance in your training journey, please reach out and contact us. So thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the time, and I look forward to seeing you at our next presentation.